welcome to Learning the Ropes.
So Danny DeVito tweeted out last night, "I'd rather fist a dog than be in a relationship. Pissed my pants."
Thanks, Danny DeVito.
Why'd you wait until after I did the welcome to say that?
I thought I was gonna do it before, but then you jumped the gun. So I had to. Listen. I had to say it. I had to say it.
Why did you do the welcome so early?
Yeah, you jumped the gun. I was gonna be so anyway to get into the mood of learning the ropes. How about this? And then you jumped the gun a little bit. So honestly, that's kind of. I can't be blamed for that, to be honest.
Either way, this is Learning the Ropes, a podcast where me, Andrew, my co-host, mostly the actual host, Matt.
Hello.
We walk our young lion Tyler through wrestling history, accompanied by our robot producer Craig.
Craig can't say hi. Craig only says now recording when we start recording, and that's it.
Yeah,
Craig
he just lets us know, like, yeah, he lets us know when we're supposed to go on and when we're supposed to break for an ad. That's it.
That's all Craig does.
That's all Craig does.
That's all he needs to do, though.
Yeah, at least that's all he does, like, on recording. You know, he's much more like freewheeling and jovial off the air. But he's very about his business, so...
Great producer, Craig. We should give him a raise.
Yeah, absolutely. We don't pay him.
Are we getting paid?
We don't pay us.
No, I only pay Craig.
You pay Craig? Tyler.
Huh?
What do you know about Lex Luger?
He sounds like Lex Luger, the Super Hitman villain with the bald
does,
head.
yes.
Spot on.
That's kind of it.
So, Lawrence Wendell Fall, a.k.a. Lex Luger, he's trained by Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff and one Terry Bollea, a.k.a. the Immortal, the Hulkster, Hulk Hogan himself.
No.
Yeah, and by the way, you were super spot on because he actually did take his ring name from the iconic Superman villain Lex Luthor.
Of course
he actually
did.
Yeah, that's a real thing, which is, you know, hell yeah, I'm all for it.
Now, Luger primarily wrestles as a heel in the National Wrestling Alliance during the mid-'80s before jumping to Jim Crockett Promotion / World Championship Wrestling, where he joined the iconic stable The Four Horsemen, kind of ousting Ole Anderson in the process. The Four Horsemen at the time is Ric Flair, their leader, the Enforcer, Arn Anderson, Tully Blanchard, and their manager, J.J. Dillon. And during this, he adopts the moniker The Total Package, Lex Luger. And during his time in WCW, he gets his finishing move, the Human Torture Rack, later shortened to just the Torture Rack.
The Human Torture Rack.
Which does imply there's an animal torture rack.
There'd have to be several kinds, right?
Yeah.
Of animal torture rack? Tyler, what kind of rack would you torture a fish on?
What kind of Wait, is there a right answer to this? Is this
No,
I didn't study.
I don't know if there are fish torture racks. But if I had to come up with one, I would say probably some kind of like a rack with like high rims on the side that you can repeatedly raise and lower in and out of the water.
Oh, you would airboard a fish?
Yeah, I'm like airboarding a fish. Airboard sounds like a Tony Hawk trick. Like you can do it in Pro Skater.
It's when you skate on a fish, actually.
Yeah.
You throw the fish down to help slow the fall.
Anyway.
Lex Luger.
Yeah, Lex Luger would eventually... He leaves the Horsemen, and he becomes number one contender to Ric Flair's WCW World Heavyweight Championship. And they have they slate a steel cage match between the two for the Great American Bash, but that match never happened. as Ric Flair began to have in real life contract disputes with WCW, just general disputes with them. Between him and like President Jim Herd, eventually leading to him exiting the company still as world champion, and he goes to WWF taking the belt with him. Instead, oh, sorry, Matt.
This is where like the Ric Flair real world champion like nickname comes from in the WWF, is that he goes to the WWF still as the WCW World Heavyweight Champion, but he can't call himself the WCW World Heavyweight Champion. So he's the real world champion, you know, when he's having his feud with Macho Man.
Yeah. Luger, looking for stuff to do, would instead face Barry Windham for the quote-unquote vacant, even though Ric Flair definitely still had it, World Heavyweight Championship. Luger would win the belt.
And then Luger would actually start to have his own issues with WCW, leading to him negotiating his own exit, losing the WCW title to the Icon Sting. And following his departure, he would end up signing with one Vincent Kennedy McMahon.
And he would show up to join the World Bodybuilding Federation.
Nice!
Yeah, which was also a thing Vince McMahon was doing. Vince McMahon liked to see muscular men.
Don't we all?
Don't we all? And he also, you know, Vince McMahon, something of, I guess, an enthusiast in, like, bodybuilding. Like, he definitely likes it. I don't know if he ever competed himself. I'd have to look into that. But so he decided to start the World Bodybuilding Federation. Which would actually have, like, a TV show.
Yeah, so he would regularly co-host WBF Body Stars, which was their Saturday morning show, until Luger gets injured in a motorcycle accident. And then by the time he gets ready to return, the World Bodybuilding Federation is out of business.
Yeah.
And so he would negotiate for his contract to be moved to the World Wrestling Federation, where he would debut as the Narcissist Lex Luger at the Royal Rumble 1993.
That's a great name.
Yeah.
Narcissist. That's awesome.
His gimmick, like his shtick at the time, was that he would do like full length poses before every match in front of mirrors.
My God. What?
And then, due to the motorcycle accident, he really had a metal plate put into his arm, and so they started to play into that. He would use the metal plate in order to beat his opponents with them and knock them out. During his
I don't think that's how the plates kind of work, but it's fine.
Yeah,
You
no.
know,
also, if that is how the plates work, I don't think that should be legal in like a wrestling context.
Yeah,
that should be cheating.
Like one of the things that comes up is that like his opponents start to ask him to wear, like in story, they ask him to wear like an elbow pad to cover up the part of his arm where the plate is, but that would just lead to him like lowering the elbow pad whenever he needed to use it.
Yeah. Yeah, and so following Hulk Hogan's departure from the WWF, which his last show was King of the Ring, which we looked at on the last episode. Vince needed another big muscled all-American kind of guy, and he decided to pick Lex Luger for that. Luger gets repackaged as a babyface, made in the USA, American original, all-American Lex Luger. Yeah, he's Hogan 3. We're on Hogan 3. And yeah, you'll see what he looks like and exactly how Hulk Hogan this guy was.
Yeah, and so at this point, Yokozuna is World Heavyweight Champion again. He wins the belt off of Hulk Hogan in Hogan's last match at the King of the Ring. And Yokozuna decides to like just start gloating with his prize, claiming that no one could body slam him ever at all.
Oh, nice.
He was too big to slam. And so he holds a body slam challenge on the deck of the USS Intrepid, which is an aircraft carrier, on July 4th, 1993.
Oh my goodness.
Yokozuna would stand in the ring with his managers, Mr. Fuji, and wrestling's angriest boomer, Jim Cornette.
That's going to lead us into our everybody's favorite Learning the Ropes sub-segment, the corny sidebar, which is the sidebar where I'm going to explain Jim Cornette to you. And any other time he might come up, I don't know when that might be, but we'll say something about Jim Cornette. I promise this segment will be recurring. Jim Cornette is an extraordinary popular and influential wrestling personality. He's known for work inside the business. Notably, he's been a pretty successful manager overall over the course of his career. And also he had a run as the head booker for Ring of Honor. But today you would mostly know about him from his podcast, as well as some appearances on Dark Side of the Ring. But his podcast, The Jim Cornette Experience, where he provides some insightful wrestling opinions amid all his complaints about the state of modern wrestling and how the Young Bucks are exposing the business, and his unabashed hatred for Kenny Omega and Orange Cassidy. It's basically he's just got a whole bunch of...
Not freshly squeezed.
He
don't like freshly squeezed.
Jim Cornette is like a super old school dude who is like, wrestling needs to feel like an athletic competition, and anything that
That's incorrect.
Anything that makes fun of it or like pulls the curtain back a little bit is bad and should not be allowed. So he hates guys like Orange Cassidy.
But Orange Cassidy is athletic though. He just has to hide his true talent, because if not, he'll blow the ring away. That's the thing with Orange Cassidy.
He hates Kenny. He hates the Young Bucks because they just like flip around, and like Will Ospreay and Pac and Ricochet. He hates all those guys because they just like flip around in the air.
Gymnastics isn't athletic. That's right, guys. Only hugging other men is.
And he hates Kenny Omega specifically for one specific match where he wrestled a 9-year-old girl.
And he lost?
I don't remember if he lost, but he for sure let the 9-year-old girl get a lot of moves in.
That feels like something Kenny Omega would do. He seems like a cool guy.
Also, I could be wrong, but wasn't that 9-year-old girl like training? Like she was vaguely trained?
She was training. It was like the event that was at was like a showcase, and she was one of like Kenny's like trainees.
Yeah. And Jim Cornette, it's really funny because like overall, Matt can vouch for this. I respect Cornette's like disposition towards like the kayfabe wrestling athletic competition. Like I'm all about that. But also the dumb parts that pull the curtain back are the most fun.
Wrestling is a variety show. Like you need to have the comedy matches that add like levity to it to be able to like also have the, you know, multi-hour long epics. Like I know he's reviewed Kenny Omega versus Kazuchika Okada, which you know, their second match is like considered by a lot of people the greatest wrestling match of all time. And Jim Cornette is like, but I gotta knock it down a few points because it's got Kenny Omega. He's like, Okada carries Omega that entire match. Weirdly enough, though, Jim Cornette, big fan of Danhausen.
Yeah, really likes Danhausen.
But Jim Cornette refuses to watch Danhausen wrestle.
Yeah, that's how he gets around it. Yeah. Is that it's one of those things that's and I respect Jim Cornette for it, that he had like this self-awareness of like he enjoys the character Danhausen and knows that like watching Danhausen wrestle, his boomer instincts would kick in like a sleeper agent, and he would like absolutely hate Danhausen forever until the end of time after that. And so he's just like, I'll never watch him wrestle, just to make sure that I keep liking this character. Like, which like maybe he should just do that for Orange Cassidy, you know?
Yeah.
I guess Orange Cassidy's character kind of focuses on his wrestling, but you know.
And now, to end the corny sidebar, he stands on the deck of the aircraft carrier watching his client, Yokozuna, resist attempts by other wrestlers and other athletes to pick him up and slam him to the mat. Notable attempts include Macho Man Randy Savage, legendary WWF champion Bob Backlund, the genetic freak Scott Steiner, as well as his brother Rick, Crush, along with like a bunch of NFL and NHL players. Several wrestlers step up to slam Yoko, and nobody can. And we're gonna go ahead and watch that the Yokozuna Body Slam Challenge right now.
USA! 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 USA!
Oh, that's interesting.
So Tyler, what'd you think?
Honestly, seemed kind of anticlimactic, and maybe it was because of the 5 minutes racism first before we got to the slam. But yeah.
Also, I love how he just barely slams him too.
Yeah.
Like he barely gets him up compared to like
Yokozuna has to jump into his arms to do it. Literally.
Like they're trying to obviously recreate the Hogan slamming Andre moment. But
yeah.
Hogan gets Andre all the way up for the slam.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Luger barely gets Yokozuna up.
Yeah. But yeah, so the chopper comes in carrying Lex Luger, America's only hope. And with the help of his surgically implanted metal plate and his love for apple pie, baseball, Ronald Reagan, and America, he does it. He slams Yokozuna, the horrors are over, Uncle Sam wins again, and for his brave victory, Lex Luger gets a title shot.
And following July 4th, he begins the Lex Express tour, where he travels the country on the lead up to SummerSlam in a red, white, and blue bus, the Lex Express, to greet fans in preparation for his upcoming shot at Yoko's WWF World Heavyweight Championship. The match had also had an added stipulation that this would be Luger's only shot at the title.
Yeah. And by the way, the Lex Express is probably like the most iconic thing about Lex Luger.
It's the only like good thing about Lex Luger.
The fact that you said was his only shot. Does this mean he's not going to get it?
I mean, no spoilers. No spoilerinos. But yeah, I know a lot of people, obviously not myself, I wasn't alive, have like a lot of fun nostalgia for the Lex Express. And I also think that it's just a really great and funny thing that they had this man get on a bus and drive around the United States.
Yeah, and it's not even that they just like said he did it. They had him do it.
They had him do it. Yeah, like because the whole thing was that they wanted Lex Luger to be over like Hulk Hogan, and so they were like, if you actually go around and like put in FaceTime like a fucking politician, like you'll get like people will cheer for you. And even we're not gonna watch it because it's at the beginning of the show and the match we want to see is at the end. But SummerSlam literally opens with the Lex Express pulling up to the Palace of Auburn Hills. And that's where the stage will be set. Like I said, the Palace of Auburn Hills in Auburn Hills, Michigan. That's literally the building I graduated high school in. It's gone now. R.I.P. Anyway, SummerSlam 1993, Yokozuna versus Lex Luger for the WWF World Heavyweight Championship. Let's go watch the match.
Let's go. And we're back. Tyler, I believe you have a question for us.
Oh, I just gotta take a big sigh real quick. That was a match that happened. Oh.
It was a rough one.
Oh boy. Bobby Heenan needs to be like tried. Is he still alive? Probably not,
No.
right?
No.
Good.
There's like no way.
Good, right? Probably for the best, to be honest. Oh man. That was a match that happened. Yeah. A lot of things were said by people that I cannot repeat. That match, it was certainly a Lex Luger match. Anyway, yeah, my question was, did they just like, were they just like, we like you, but we like Yokozuna more?
Yeah, so
You can win the match, but fuck
Yeah.
you.
Yeah,
the
so
title.
Luger wins.
Fair enough.
Luger wins by count out. Yoko keeps the title.
Yeah, so for those of you listening along at home, and hopefully watching the match along at home,
or
I don't know
you
if
can
you
just
noticed.
skim this one. It's
Yeah,
fine.
I don't know if you noticed, if you looked up from your phone, but Lex Luger definitely didn't just win the WWF Championship.
They definitely celebrated like he did, though.
They definitely celebrated like he did.
But yeah, so title does not change hands on account of disqualification. So Lex Luger wins. Yokozuna keeps the title. Now this all comes from some backstage stuff. So Vince was super high on Lex Luger. But then his two, like, I don't know what to call them, stooges, right-hand men, Bruce Pritchard and Pat Patterson, were opposed to Luger winning the belt, saying that he wasn't as over as with the crowd as they wanted him to, and he didn't have like a good in-ring, like he wasn't that great in ring.
Yeah,
and so
I agree.
This, along with an alleged like rage from the locker room, like literally to the point that people were allegedly threatening to walk out if Luger got the belt, resulted in them changing plans last minute, still having Luger win the match but not the title.
Specifically because like this ties into a thing we've already talked about. Like allegedly the people in the locker room that were mad because of the whole Hulk Hogan deal with Bret Hart from WrestleMania 9. Like, if you remember that, where Hulk was like, where Hogan was like, oh yeah, Bret, I'll beat Yokozuna at the end of WrestleMania after you lose to him. But then I'll definitely drop the belt to you later. And then as soon as the belt was in Hogan's hands, he was like, lol, you're small, get fucked. Like, that led to Hulk Hogan at King of the Ring dropping the belt to Yokozuna instead of waiting until the proposed match was going to be SummerSlam main event Hulk Hogan versus Bret Hart, if I remember correctly.
Correct.
But yeah, so people were mad that like that deal was no longer happening. And so Vince agreed to keep the belt off Luger, but as they defined this feud entirely around US nationalism, Vince still really wanted like a positive patriotic ending to SummerSlam, leading to the countout finish, and the kind of confusing feeling post-match celebration, where they give Luger his balloons and the American flag, and they hoist him up on two dudes' shoulders. That's Rick and Scott Steiner, by the way, who pick Lex Luger up, while he's celebrating having just squandered his only ever opportunity. Remember, this was supposed to be the only time Lex Luger got to challenge for the belt. So
is that what? That's what I said earlier too.
Yeah. But yeah, so it's kind of a confusing one.
Yeah, and actually, another interesting thing that happens because of this. So at the time, because like the internet wasn't really prevalent, they would record stuff out of order. Just, sometimes it'd be easier to record an episode of WWF Superstars that would air after a pay-per-view, like beforehand. And so they had to entirely scrap an episode of Superstars that they taped because it had Lex Luger carrying the belt.
Nice.
And so they just had to fully scrap it because they changed last second. Yeah. Now let's talk a little bit about the match itself. Boy, this is not a good match.
This is a hard one. This is a hard one. A lot of them standing around, not even doing wrestle, but just kind of standing and sitting.
Yeah, I almost feel like I would have preferred to watch like a Hogan match, like an actual Hogan match.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't. Yeah, I don't want to commit to saying that.
That's fair.
I respect your opinion,
but this is worse than the best Hogan match we've watched, I think.
Yeah.
It's worse than Andre for sure.
Yeah.
It's trying to be Andre and it's not.
It's trying to be Andre and it's not, yeah.
That's the weird, that's the thing to me about this match, is that it's like a forced, like, pale interpretation of like the Hogan Andre thing, where like neither guy is as big a deal as Hulk Hogan or Andre the Giant, which is not to like shit on either of them. It's just that like they're not those two guys. Like those two guys were like icons of literally pop culture. And at this point in time, like Lex Luger was just like a guy that they decided to say was the new American hero.
What I love about that too is that how rushed it is that they do that, because like Luger debuts for the WWF at the Royal Rumble 1993, so that means January of the year that we're like currently watching, right? So SummerSlam this year is August 30th, so literally that January he debuted as the Narcissist, right? And he's the Narcissist into King of the Ring 93, which happens June 10th. Literally, he debuts the, like, all-American character on the 4th of July at the USS Intrepid, and then proceeds to not have a wrestling match. So, like, the only thing he does on TV is the Lex Express from the 4th of July until the end of August for SummerSlam 93. So this is, like, a 2-month just, like, shoving down and trying everything you can to get him over as quickly as fucking possible. It's for sure a mess.
And, like, it's the way they try to get him over, because that's my big problem, and like where I think the Lex Luger experiment goes wrong, is that they work way too hard to stress that he's an American hero. Like Hulk Hogan would like carry around the American flag. Like, you know, he was known for being like the patriotic, like, American hero. Like he was known for being the good flag in the good flag, bad flag feuds. But like for Hulk Hogan's, like, to his credit, loath as I am to give him that, like, he was still his own character. Like, they didn't take all of the character away from Hulk Hogan. Like, he didn't wear the stars and stripes, he just carried them. He wore, like, the Hulk Hogan red and yellow. Like, he did his whole shtick. Whereas they were like, Lex Luger's shtick is America. It's why there are chants for USA during the match, but no chants for Lex Luger. And also, it's racist. I really hate that it's racist.
It's really racist. It's excessively racist.
Yeah, some of the lines from Heenan are just really bad. They're really awful.
Yeah.
Really not a good look.
It's like Matt and I kind of talked about it while we were doing like research and notes for this episode. That like Bobby Heenan is doing it being a heel, like he's being a dick. And I always feel like, at least for me, Bobby Heenan's character always reads as guy I'm supposed to hate. Like it doesn't do like the dog whistle thing where it feels like it bleeds over into stuff that I think he actually believes. But the fact that like being sort of racist was a vehicle for cheap heat at all, like as a thing that someone would go, oh yeah, I'll just do that, is like, that speaks to a state of affairs in both the product and the country at the time that I'm not a big fan of.
Right, like, you wouldn't see, like, a Corey Graves on Raw, say just, like, the N-word or something, to get
yeah.
Oh, man.
And also, as like a thing that we haven't mentioned yet, at the Yokozuna Body Slam Challenge on the deck of the Intrepid, like the little bit of promo Lex Luger does before he actually attempts the body slam is just flat out racist.
Yeah.
And he's the babyface getting cheered for it. Gross.
God, I mean, to go back into the match a little bit and just like the whole idea around this match and why we're covering this match. Vince's insistence on having like a new Hulk Hogan and just it always failing is just great to me, I feel like.
Yeah.
Like, Warrior was obviously supposed to be Hogan too.
Gone instantly.
Yeah, like, instantly gone, basically. And then it's supposed to be Luger. But Luger's somehow, like, worse in the ring at this...
He's so boring.
Then, like,
so not...
even Warrior. I would have preferred to watch Ultimate Warrior over Lex Luger.
Yeah.
Like,
Warrior was a character.
Right. And, I mean, apparently Luger has, like, some of his, like, NWA and WCW stuff is, like, interesting. His stuff with the Four Horsemen and things like that. Like, some of those matches are supposed to be good. But, like, none of his WWF stuff stands out at all. I mean, the only other significant match, really, that he's had at this point is his time limit draw versus Tatanka at the King of the Ring. Yeah, he's... I would have preferred to have seen more of the Narcissist.
Like, yeah, that's what, like you said, like, none of his WWF stuff stands out. I still see people online talk about how, like, the Narcissist gimmick had promise as, like, a heel gimmick.
Oh, for sure. But literally, the Narcissist gimmick lasts all of, like, 6 months.
Yeah. And because that's what, like, I want to stress, the problem with Lex Luger is not Lex Luger. At all.
It's the
Vince.
Booking. It's the booking around Lex Luger, yeah.
Yeah, that's gonna be a surprisingly common theme, like, going forward, is that we'll talk about that more than once. That it's like I don't want people to think that I hate Lex Luger the wrestler. I don't. I hate, like, Vince's comical insistence that there needs to be a Hulk Hogan. Like, the show can't go on without a variation on Hulk Hogan.
I'm not looking forward to the year 1995 for that reason.
Yeah. Which, again, bleeds into the fact that this is a really boring match. Because it's like Yokozuna beating on Lex Luger, holding him down, putting nerve holds on him, pinching his traps, like, all of that, and Lex Luger just getting the shit kicked out of him until eventually Lex Luger, again, sort of body slams Yokozuna, and then smacks Yokozuna with his metal plate in his forearm, sending Yoko outside, where Yoko just stayed for 10 merciful seconds.
Oh, it's the worst way to end a match.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have trouble thinking of like a good count-out finish. Yep, can't think of one.
I don't think there is one. Yeah.
It's like messy finishes like that are meant to be like grating to the audience. It's the kind of thing that heels, like when a heel will win, they'll win like by like a count out or a disqualification sometimes because it gets them heat with the crowd, and like the crowd gets mad at the heel for depriving them of like a definitive end to the match. And in this case, it was just deployed because they were like, well, we don't want to put the belt on Luger, but we also don't want Luger to lose. Ugh. Anyway, Tyler, what are your thoughts on this match?
Yeah.
It's fucking bad. There weren't even any like key moments till they point out to it that were like good. There was like maybe like one suplex that was kind of all right.
Yeah, Yoko hit like a good side suplex.
I mean, that's literally it. There weren't even like stand-up moments.
I think the only two moments that like stood out for me was like Yoko going for a leg drop, and not hitting it, and like us talking about how that would just kill someone, and then like his failed bonsai drop, but only because like that looked like it fucking hurt Yokozuna to just go from the middle rope and just land straight on his fucking tailbone. It must have sucked to be Yokozuna.
A little bit, I'd imagine.
Yeah.
Anyway, we want to do ratings?
Let's do some ratings. I am gonna give this match a lowly 0.75 stars. It might be like extra low, but I feel like we've just been like knowing what era of wrestling we're supposed to be in.
Yeah.
Seeing Lex Luger in this match it kind of sucked.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm gonna even go lower than 0.7. I'm gonna go a low 0.5. This match was terrible, boring, not fun to. It was a match that happened, so it can't go 0. But
yeah,
and I feel like Yokozuna looks good when we've seen him before with Brett. This was just a bad match.
Yeah, well, Brett can make everybody look good.
Yeah, that's the thing, is that Brett can make anyone look good.
Uh-huh.
I'm gonna go, I think I'm slightly, I've known most of the time that I'm slightly higher on this. I'm like more charitable to this match than you guys are. Not by a ton. I'm only giving it 1.0. It's basically a match that happens, like, most of my real hate for it comes for the booking. I don't know. It's not good. We're in the era of, but Brett is right there. Like,
right.
Where we're just like, you have him! Like, he's been WWF champion at this point. Like, how are we not? Like, how is this not? I mean, I know how it's not Brett versus Hogan, but like, how is it not Brett versus Yoko? How is it not Brett versus Luger if you want to do that? Brett's a foreign guy. Like,
foreign Canadian.
Or how is it not Bret Hart versus the Narcissist? To just stick with the heel gimmick.
That would have been good.
Like, I don't know. It's just one of those things where we're like, at this point in time, don't know if I would say Shawn was necessarily ready to step up to that level, but it's like, you still got workers like Brett, and you still got workers around him. Like, Macho Man can still go. Like, what are we doing? Like,
I mean, at this point, Macho Man was like not really wrestling anymore.
Yeah.
He was just like an on-screen personality. But yeah. You have Jerry Lawler, you have The Undertaker, you have fucking Bam Bam Bigelow. You know, there's Mr. Perfect. Like, God, fucking Mr. Perfect versus Bret Hart for the fucking title would have been for the WWF title would have been amazing. Like, give him like 30 minutes.
Oh, I already gave him 5, dude. They're gonna break our scale.
Anyway, Big Dave disagrees with us. Big Dave gave this match 2.75.
That's too good.
Get it together, Dave. Dave, what are you doing?
Friend of the show, Dave, just wrong today.
Dude, I can't wait until the scheduling can actually line up, and we can have Big Dave on the show.
We can have best friend of the show, Big Dave.
Yeah. Once we get that figured out, because Dave's a busy guy.
Yeah.
We all know that.
I think Dave said that like he might have an opening like 3 years from now.
Yeah. But I want to be able to ask him, like,
why?
I want to show him some of these matches and be like, what would you, like, how would you reassess this match from, like, modern sensibilities? I assume our boy Big Dave, he probably doesn't want to, you know, like, he wants to maintain the credibility of his rating system and not, like, go back and second guess himself. But, like, that's what we're here for, you know?
Yeah. And now with that, remember to like, comment, subscribe. You can find the podcast. You can find us over on Instagram at Learning the Ropes Pod. You can find us on Twitter. What's the @ on Twitter? Fuck.
Tyler, what's the Twitter?
Learning the Ropes.
But that's not the @
I'm currently tweeting right now on the thing. LtR _pod.
Yeah, come check us out on LtR pod.
_pod.
_pod. You can find us on Instagram, Learning the Ropes. You can find us on Anchor. Once again, thank you, Anchor, for sponsoring this episode. And we will see y'all next time.
I pull up to break necks.